Good morning. Brandon Hardison, President of Champion Strategies. Glad to be with you this morning. Going to be looking at something a tad different because I'm running into it a lot with general managers and BDC managers. And that is something called lead generation. Now, I know we're talking to consumers. We want to educate you. And I know I may have some people in the automotive industry also watching, so we're not bashing you. We're just trying to get you to understand we need to increase our knowledge base. And what is that dealing with? Vendors, companies that sell lead generations. Here's my question for this part series that we're going to do. Are lead generation companies the bad guy? In other words, are they offering the dealership a good product, but maybe they just don't have the ability to add the training piece? That's the key when it comes to the dealership once they purchase it. For you, the consumer, it's bad follow-up where you get frustrated and say, hey, how did you get my information? That's not right. And now you're frustrated. You want to go out and tell the world on your social media that this particular dealership gets a bad score just because they added something to their process and maybe they weren't trained to do that properly. So we want to go through a series of you trying to understand this. You do it all the time. Being you, the consumer, it happens. So we're going to break it down. I believe knowledge should come in bits and pieces, and we'll dole it out to you. And then at the end, I believe in full transparency. Both sides hopefully will gain something from it. So first thing, what is a lead? That's what we need to look at. A lead is a person who indicates some type of interest in a company's product, service in some shape or form. There's something that comes up on the screen and they want you to enter in some of your basic information. In other words, leads are part of this broader life cycle that consumers follow when they transition from being a visitor, usually online, to potentially a consumer. So, a lead, they want something from you. They want you to fill in something so we can move this process forward by putting you in certain buckets, if you will. So the first bucket that we just want to look at is something that's called a marketing qualified lead, MQL. Well, what do we mean by a marketing qualified lead? Well, these people who filled in information, they've engaged a little bit. And what we want to do is to find out a little bit more from the information. Is this the person that we can extend some type of other offer and hopefully getting them to understand our business a little bit better? I'm marketing a concept, 10% off this, free oil change when it comes here, but they're just gathering bits of information, not a whole lot, but something that they can get as a company, a lead generation company, and hopefully move it forward and offer it to a small company, middle company, large company. And we call this a lead. Why? Their salespeople have not been trained properly to market, have not been trained properly to prospect, to find a way. have not been trained properly to go back to customers that they've already sold something to and extend a warm conversation of what you may offer to see if we can attract you to come back again. So once again, a marketing qualified lead, or an MQL. Then there's something called a SQL, a sales qualified lead. So if we're looking at rungs on a ladder, now we're starting to go up. So what would be a simple definition of a sales qualified lead? Now, these are people or contacts who've taken action, some way of communication that you fill in, that you're expressing indication or interest in what they're offering. So now maybe they want a little bit more information, and you gladly put it in because you want to hear more. Remember, this transaction that we're trying to move you from a consumer to possibly buying one of our products. What do we call it, short world? Once again, a sales qualified lead. Now, for what I do and train people on, these sales qualified leads, oh, they come out there with different companies in abundance. Not saying that they're bad, they just don't train the end user on how to be effective using that information, making you sore and upset that they called, emailed, text in some form with that. Now, quickly, there's a couple of other big, broader boxes that we're looking at. One's called a product qualified lead, a PQL. Here's where a product qualified lead or a contact that you've used that product before, and they're now reaching out to see how it was. Would you consider of buying something from us again? That should be a pretty easy one, especially if you had a good customer experience with that organization. But once again, is it the lead, the information, or is it the person contact you in some form, whether it be online or on person, phone call, whatever it may be? Are we training them the right way so you feel comfortable with that experience? And then the last one we just want to look at today is something called a service qualified lead, or an SQL. Now, you know where I'm going. You've used that company before. You were a paying company because you did use that service. So here, once again, there should be a warm relationship. It should be easy to find out if you enjoyed that service, if their level of service was up to your standard, and could we move this where you would be a potential buyer again. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, my goal for this whole lead generation is to let you know, as a consumer, which dealerships to do business with. The ones that sound irritating because you're questioning why they're asking certain questions, and it's not them. It's not the lead generation companies. Remember, by some way you filled out something, you used their product and service, they have your information, but it's how they're trying to communicate with you. Again, that's the frustrating part. And equally frustrating for me is to have companies that offer our dealerships lead generation products, but there's no training that goes with it. So to me, it defeats the purpose. Now, if some of this makes sense to you, great. If you need to do more research, go ahead. Lead generation, and all we talked about is marketing qualified leads, definition, sales qualified leads, definition, product qualified leads, definition, service qualified leads. Different buckets. Either you gave them a little information, a little bit more information, you use their product or service, but now they're responding back to you to see if they can get you to use the product or service again. And it's how they're doing it. Is it done in a consumer friendly manner, or is it irritating? Where your first response is to let the world know that you do not want anything to be contacted from this organization again. Now, if that does make some sense to you, I hope it does. Once again, Brandon Hardison's Champion Strategies, always trying to be transparent, not only for you, the consumer, but hopefully for the general managers, BDC managers, internet managers, anybody who picks up the phone or communicates with guests. We have to do it in the right way. And that's where training comes in. So if you're using a lead generation company that offers no training, you're going to have a bad experience when it comes to reaching out to that guest. And we don't want that. Once again, Brad at Hardison for Champion Strategies. Go out and make it a champion day.